You're rolling.
This is a revolutionary message. Jesus in this story makes, I believe, very serious theological statement that is often missed. In this story, A, she was a Samaritan. B, she was divorced. C, she was living with a man. Rejected. What we consider the least of all women, but not Jesus. She was a Samaritan. She was divorced. She was living with a man. But she was chosen by Jesus.
Amen.
This is the statement of the gospel. Doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter what you've done, doesn't matter your current situation. God in His mercy and His grace is able to totally change the story, to totally change the picture. It's good news that we all believe, right? Hopefully. Women have been wrongly misunderstood from Genesis chapter 3. There's much in this sermon I could elaborate on, but I don't have time to get into all of it. But just let me make the statement. You know the story. Everybody still believes that the fall of mankind is because Eve ate from the tree. One of the revolutionary books in my life was a book called The Silence of Adam. When you understand that Adam was the one who was given the word. Adam was present, but silent. But because of what she did, we blame everything on her. When the truth of the matter is, it wasn't her. It was him that was wrong first. So often, we look at this story and ignore his responsibility. I don't got time to go there, but I've read a book called Silence of Adam, and I'd recommend that for all men. He had the position of authority. He had the position of responsibility, and he did nothing. We have all been deceived by the serpent. Let me say it again. We have all been deceived by the serpent. Amen. To believe that the value of a woman is less than the value of a man. I could talk about this at length. Adam in the garden was not complete without her. The two of them were called one flesh. Man was first, yes. But I could make a lot of points. If man was the first Adam and Jesus was the second Adam, which one is more important? The purpose of authority is to serve and to protect. If you don't understand that, study Jesus, who came as the servant of man and was the model of a good man. Let's get into the story. First off, she was a Samaritan. Not welcome in Jerusalem, not welcome in the temple. Had no connection to God, was considered unclean. But Jesus comes and tells her it's about the heart. Hang on to that statement. It's about the heart.
Amen.
Drop all the labels that you have over yourself or anybody else.
Amen.
Drop all the labels. It's about the heart.
Amen.
She was divorced 5 times. What does that matter? If it's about the heart. We got to come to a point where we get rid of the idea that they're second-class citizens in the kingdom.
Amen.
My first wife, Debbie, had been married before. Anybody who's married someone who's been divorced knows of the liabilities of what that is. If I was listening to the ball game and somebody hit a home run, I go, yeah! And she would say, don't do that, don't do that. Just raising my hand would cause fear in her heart. One time we were having a sharing your faith classes. And my wife Debbie shared her testimony, and some of you maybe were there. Angie came to that class. After Debbie shared her testimony of her having been divorced, Angie quickly left the assembly. And she said, I cried all the way home. Because I believe that if God could use Debbie, and she'd been divorced,
Amen.
maybe God could use me.
Amen.
Because I've been divorced.
Yes. Yes.
So many times the enemy has caused culture and the church to treat people like they're not like everybody else. I have a good friend, Doug, studying for the ministry. I know his story. His wife has good friends. They used to work together. He's gone to Canada fishing with us, studying in a certain denomination. But he goes through all the classes and he sits there in the questioning. They find out that 30 years ago, before he was a Christian, there was a divorce on her side and his side. They said, sorry, you can't be ordained. I want to stand up and scream and say, you got to be kidding me. What does the gospel of Jesus Christ stand for?
Amen.
If it doesn't forgive
Yes.
and wipe the slate clean.
Amen.
Amen.
So many have lived under those banners and those titles. I understand rules, but Jesus came to shatter the glass
Amen.
and break the ceiling.
Yes, he did.
She was living with someone. Oh, my land. God can't use those people, right? Say, Pastor, you're crazy now. You're way out of the box. Yeah. Where do we get the idea that everything has to be perfect before God can use you? I know what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's okay. But at some point, you got to trust God to clean the dish.
Amen.
Religion can't do it. Culture can't do it. Shame don't do it. But if Jesus accepts us in our fallen place, He is the one who will work everything for good.
Yes, amen. Yes, amen.
We got to quit playing God in people's lives and get rid of the judgment.
Amen.
That's right.
Jesus is making a statement. In all honesty, the Bible's full of stories, not just the woman at the well. The Ruth was a Moabitess who became grandmother to David,
Yes.
listed in the lineage of Jesus. Deborah was a judge, used mightily in battle to deliver Israel from an enemy. Rahab in Jericho denied her own people because she trusted in the Lord, and is listed in the lineage of Jesus.
Amen.
Esther
Esther, yes. Dear Esther.
was an orphan in a foreign country who delivered her people
Yes, she did.
and brought about a great victory. The New Testament is full of women, from the woman at the well, who law said should be stoned. But Jesus said, neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more.
Amen.
Mary Magdalene delivered of 7 demons. I could make some jokes, but I won't.
It's all right.
delivered from 7 demons, was the first person that Jesus revealed himself to at the resurrection, and then sent her as a messenger to the rest of the disciples and Peter. I don't know if you understand what I'm communicating this morning, but we live in a world throughout history that has treated women like they don't matter, like men do. I can honestly tell you that's not a correct picture from the gospel of Jesus Christ. When my first wife, Debbie, passed away about 12 years ago, after that event, I went home, and after everything was over, I had no motivation to go to work. I didn't care about business, because everything I'd always done was for us, not me. And without her, I felt like all my motivation was gone. There was no one to share my day with. There was no one to shoulder to cry on. I felt totally empty. Let's talk about women for a minute. If it wasn't for women, there would be no beauty in the world. I watched the women as they came and set up the tables for lunch after service, and they don't just put up tables like we men would do. They got to put plastic on and decorations. And I walk in there and go, oh, that's beautiful. I would have never thought of that. Amen. I love beautiful. I don't misunderstand me. I love beautiful women. I love when they paint their nails. I like some makeup, not too much, but some makeup adds some beauty. Everybody here loves beauty, right? If I catch you men doing your nails and putting on makeup, we're going to have a conversation. Because it don't look good on men, amen? A shave looks good on men, that's about it. I'm just saying, women bring beauty. They make us appreciate art and culture and dignity. They add a level to everything of sweet sense, of sweet savor. Without the women, it's just another locker room. Am I right? Stop comparing the two. They are a unique creation of God, by God.
Amen.
We cannot esteem value. They are beautiful and precious and need to be protected as such. This morning, I believe I'm unleashing an army. I believe I'm unleashing an army of women who have felt restricted or tied down because of failure that many times was not really their fault. They played a part, as was stated, but it's because men have not done their part.
That's right.
Men have not protected, but took advantage. Jesus chose the most broken person he could find, a Samaritan woman, and he's making a statement to the world. When he sends her into the city with a message, when he reveals that he is the Messiah and calls her chosen, when he came there looking for her on purpose, he was making a statement to the world and a statement to the church. And the world didn't get it because the church never got it. And if the church don't get it, the world's never going to get it.
Amen.
But if anybody ought to be valued and treated as special, it ought to be the women of God
Amen.
in the house of God, in a good marriage, married to a man of God. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Women should be climbing the fence to get into the church.
All right.
Because this is the place that appreciates the beauty and the uniqueness and the value of a woman and applauds her and raises her up, doesn't tear her down or diminish her in any way, shape, or form.
Amen.
Pastor, are you telling me as a woman that God could use me in the city? Yes. That my past don't matter? Yes. Doesn't matter how I've been treated, how many times I've messed up, what I've been called. Are you telling me, Pastor, that God can use me? I believe God's calling women to rise up just as much as He's calling men to take their place. I believe we believe we're literally unleashing an army with this teaching where women will feel free to be who God created them to be, because it's the gospel of Jesus Christ. And He forgives. He cleans the slate. We become born again, a new person, rising from the ashes of our failed past to believe in the power of God to redeem us, to restore us, to make everything new. Is it possible that God can cause us as women to go forth into the city and boldly declare, the one who knows me has revealed himself to me. The one who knows me has forgiven me.
Yeah.
And if He has redeemed me, He can redeem you.
Yeah. Amen.
What if we would just believe that message this morning?
All right.
So we're going to do this morning, we're going to do an altar call real quick.
Right.
This is not an altar call. It can be for whatever you want it to be. But part of this altar call is saying, Pastor, I think that God is wanting me to allow Him to lead me by His Spirit. I don't mean this quite the way it sounds, but I love what Jenna's talking. She's got a shop there in downtown, and Felicia's working in the gas station telling everybody she can about Jesus and whatever. I just picture that we're unleashing an army of women,
Yeah.
because there's something about warrior women that's different than men.
Amen.
They are bolder.
Yeah.
They're more fiery. If you don't understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
And they have a great story. If we would unleash these stories in our city of what God is doing in the hearts and lives of people, if women could begin to believe that the church was not holding them down, holding them out of service, out of ministry, that somehow they don't qualify, if we could change that, I think everybody would want to be in. Amen?
Amen.
So I want to challenge you women to find a good man. His name is Jesus. There's only one man that you can truly be trusted. There's only one man who's going to really fill that hole. Anybody can fill your bed, but not everybody can fill a hole in your heart. Only Jesus can fill the hole in your heart. If you can't find a man that loves Jesus more than he wants you, then get rid of him.
Amen.
I want to talk a little bit about being a godly man.
All right.
Godly man loves his wife
That's right.
and would lay down his life for her. She is his joy.
Yes.
She is his crown. She's his treasure. He lifts her up and encourages her, congratulates her, listens to her, sensitive to what she brings to the table. he would never be unfaithful or untruthful,
Amen.
because that would be denying himself.
Right.
He treats her like she's God's daughter
Amen.
and a gift from God to his life.
Amen.
You would never abuse, berate, threaten, or belittle, violate her, betray her. My own story of late teens, early 20s was not pretty. I was doing ministry, leading youth groups, on the church board, leading singing on Sunday, but giving girls a ride home. And they'd argue over who would be last. Not unusual to go to a youth event, get there, and some other girl thought she was my girlfriend, only to find out I brought a different girlfriend. Say, Pastor, that's sick. Yeah, like some of the guys you run with.
No.
Tank came to a total failure. A few years into my marriage, I read a book called Captivating. Didn't mean to give you the title, I'm sorry. That book could be so dangerous in the hands of wrong people. But it was literally a window into a woman's soul, written by a man and woman. When I read that book, I wept over and over and over, because I realized all the pain I had caused. And ever since I met my wife, Debbie, I never again wanted to violate that trust or violate that relationship.
Amen.
If you could ever see how it violates a woman when she gives you her body and you betray her trust. She didn't give you her body because she wanted your body. She gave her body because she wanted your heart.
Amen.
And when you don't give her your heart, and I've heard this story from women who would say, I've trusted and been broken and trusted and been broken so many times, I don't want to trust no more. I literally could tell you so many painful stories. They ripped my heart out. And I so this morning want to become an advocate for defending women.
Yes.
I've sat and celebrated recovery so many times and heard children talk about growing up in a home watching their mom get beat. And I don't understand how anybody can hurt or berate or belittle or mistreat a woman. I know what I did was horrible, but I didn't do nothing in front of the kids.
Yes.
There's a young lady who grew up in this community with my kids. We used to go to the beach, they'd hang out, just kids. Stay summers with her grandparents. A few years ago, she showed up at food distribution. I remembered her, called her by name, we talked. She told me she'd been married and her first husband was in prison. Now she's with, and she named the person, a tattoo artist. I'm thinking, whoa, you know how to pick them. Now he's in prison. And she knows she's running with a biker guy from Detroit.
Oh, my.
Friday, I met her mother. 59 years old. She said, I just got out of an abusive relationship. I should have done that a long time ago. And I realized why the daughter's doing what she's doing. Because that's what she grew up with as normal.
Yes.
And she's raising her kids, 3 kids, in that same world. At some point it has to stop.
Amen.
It has to stop because women realize there is a good man. His name's Jesus.
All right.
And that has to stop because men stop behaving like animals
Yes.
and start behaving like the men of God He created them to be. I'm sure nobody in here has done anything like what I'm just suggesting. But I can tell you, there's a lot of women who need an apology.
Yes.
There's a lot of women who need an I'm sorry. There's a lot of men who need to take responsibility for the choices and the betrayals and the heartaches they've caused in their own pursuit of temporary pleasure. The lies they've told, the promises they made they didn't kept, the excuses they came up with that don't work.
Right.
I just want you to know the same God that forgives the woman at the well also forgives her husbands.
Amen. Amen. So true. Amen.
So I don't know what your story is this morning, but maybe your story is, Pastor, I hear what you're saying. I want to become a man who represents Jesus, not a man who represents the world. I want to become a man who's doing the right thing, not treating women like the world treats women.
Amen.
We need to raise up a new standard. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Where women are treated and treasured and respected and valued and not belittled and berated. I just got this picture in my mind this morning that if somehow we could create a right culture in church,
Yes.
when some young girl from this church goes out to date somebody and he's one of those creeps,
My. On the preach.
they're everywhere. Like, I always think of what Ed Cole, I've shared this with some of the guys. Ed Cole used to preach, he just would destroy men. He would say, you know why you're so bothered about the guy your daughter's dating? Because you're afraid he's going to treat her like you treated her mother.
Not preaching.
So I'm going to just open it up an altar time. I'm not going to be praying with anybody. I just want to open up an altar time where men can just come and say, God, just come and have a conversation with God, saying, God, I want to be the godly man that sets a right standard and holds it up.
Amen.
I want to represent Jesus rightly. I want to represent Jesus correctly. I want the flesh in me to die to where I don't see women with lust. I'm telling you, God can do a work in your heart. You don't see women as objects no more. You don't see them as something to be violated no more. You see something as a sister. You see them something to be treasured and protected. God can do that.
Amen.
So we're going to do that. We'll do that same song all over again. I just want to give a chance for men to come and humble themselves and just pray and say, God, help my heart to be right and help me to be the godly man you created me to be. I don't want to be someone who's violating the sensitive creature you've given me.
Amen.
Let's stand if you would this morning. Go ahead and start.